From homelessness to addictions, there are many challenges facing our city today. Every month here on the show, we're sitting down with Mayor Scott Gillingham to talk about these issues and catch up on other matters at City Hall. And it is Monday today, and Mayor Gillingham is in studio. Welcome. Hello.
Good morning, Faith. Great to be here.
You posted on social media last week about Wab Kinew and his cabinet being sworn in. You said you were looking forward to working with all the new ministers, especially Ian Bushi in municipal relations and Bernadette Smith in housing, addictions, homelessness, mental health on shared priorities. When do you expect to officially meet?
Well, the Premier and I had an initial meeting just before he was sworn in. And in that meeting, we really identified some shared priorities. And homelessness and tackling homelessness is right at the top of the list for both the Premier and myself. And that to me is a good sign because I think we have a strong partner in Premier Kinew. And I was really pleased to see that he named Minister Bernadette Smith to be the Minister for Homelessness, Addiction, Housing, and Mental Health. And I think bringing all of those aspects under one portfolio, though it'll be very large, is really important because all of those really touch the homelessness file.
Did you have a conversation with him about safe injection sites, for example? It's something that's been in the news, has come up on and off over the last number of years.
Yeah, that was not raised with me, in our conversation, but just, the need to adopt one coordinated approach. We both share that idea. We've talked about, both he and I, the Premier and I have talked about a model that Houston uses. Now, I want to reiterate what I've said before, Faith, that there are so many organizations within the city of Winnipeg that are doing great work, and they are coordinating, but making sure that all partners, including governments, are on the same page with one coordinated plan. We really need that kind of focus and coordination if we're going to make a difference in the lives of people who are struggling on our streets right now.
And Houston has the principles of a housing first approach. How might something like that look like here? What would have to come together for that single approach to be successful, do you think?
Well, there really is a housing first approach here as well. It's but by many partners. It's a matter of coordinating. First of all, there needs to be one coordinated plan. Everybody needs to share the data. It does need to be a housing first approach so that we can get people off the streets into housing, but they need wraparound supports. And that's where the work of Minister Smith is going to be so critical to make sure that we are all working together and that, she can help to identify those locations where people can be taken from the street, put into housing, and make sure everybody has the supports they need to be successful.
We got to talk about what some people were upset about recently, a decision by the Winnipeg Police Service to pull officers from community districts and reassign them to beef up patrols downtown. What is your take on that move? Where do you stand on all of this?
Well, I support the chief in that move at this time. Unfortunately, Faith, right now across Winnipeg, the crime rate is too high, and there has been an increase in criminal activity in the downtown. Thankfully, that is being addressed. It's being addressed by several different means. The chief has pulled officers from other areas to walk the beat in the downtown, so we have more foot patrol in the downtown right now, which is good. That gives us time to bring the 24 new officers on board. The previous provincial government announced funding for 24 more police officers for foot patrol in the downtown. Mm-hmm. So in the meantime, the chief has allocated some resources on a temporary measure to fill that void. But we also have the Downtown Community Safety Partnership. Community safety is not all about officers and badges and guns. They can't do it all. And so there's also a coordination with the Downtown Community Safety Partnership. And that group is so important because they can make sure that where there's not criminal activity, they can make sure that when they're talking to people or engaging with people who are struggling, they can get the right resources. Sometimes it's a social services agency that someone needs for the right resource. But making sure that our community is safer is a priority of mine, and I know it's a priority of the new Premier as well.
Do you know what you'll be asking for with the new cabinet and with the Premier in terms of this particular file, in terms of safety?
Well, one of the things that I was really pleased to hear Premier Kinew talk about when he and I talked is he wants to focus also on going after drug traffickers. And a lot of our, you listen, the police report to the police board on a regular basis, and they talk about often it is drugs and the drug trade, that is tied to crime, often tied to the use of guns and violence in the community as well. And so I support the Premier in focusing on a focus on going after drug traffickers, because the drug traffickers prey on our most vulnerable. Also, right, when you get someone who's struggling with addiction, they're in a vulnerable place. And when the traffickers are going after them to keep feeding their habit, it's a spiral and cycle that leads to so many challenges in our community.
Recently at Council, there is the prospect of a residential compost program raised again. You've said that you support the idea but have concerns about the timeline, the proposed costs for residents. Do you have an answer for what is reasonable, or what a reasonable annual fee might be for this kind of thing?
I do support the idea of a residential compost program. I think it's time. When we've surveyed Winnipeggers, those we've surveyed over, a majority of them do say it is time to start picking up compost at the curb. At our meeting last week of the Executive Policy Committee, to his credit, Councillor Brian Mays brought forward a motion that asks our staff to go and try to find a way to implement it sooner rather than later. The initial report said that we were looking at an implementation of, in the year 2030. We want to do it sooner, so we've asked our staff to try to find a way to come back to us so we can implement a compost program by 2026 and reduce the cost as well. So I want it to happen sooner, and I want it to happen for Winnipeggers, for less cost.
Is money the big barrier in all of this? Because it seems like there is support in principle, and particularly from residents as well. Is money the thing that's in the way?
Well, right now, the initial report said we'd be looking to increase the waste diversion fee for every household by $96 a year, which is significant. But it's really the timeline too that I think a lot of us have challenges with, and we want a 2030. 2030 seems so far away, and we really want to find a way to reduce that timeline so we can start this program sooner. We're one of the last major cities in Canada to have a compost program.
And when it comes to what do you say to people who might also see that, seeing Winnipeg, one of the last major cities in the country, to not have an organic waste pickup program, what would your message be for that?
I would say thank you for your patience. We're trying to find a way to implement it as soon as we can. But of course, it does take time because we don't have the facilities. All of that would take time to get up and to get implemented as well.
Snow is going to fall soon. Do you have your winter tires on?
I just made the call this morning when I was sitting in the waiting room, actually, so I do have an appointment now to get my winter tires booked. But when I talked to the individual who answered the phone at the garage, I said, of course, this morning, the phone is ringing off the hook. So
it's going to be busy.
It's going to be busy.
It's good to have you on the program, and we'll see you again soon. Take good care.
Thank you, Faith.